Hello! How are we doing? Are we ready? Woo. Mexico. Interesting one, mate. Wait, Sally. Thank you so much, Sally. I appreciate that massively. You really didn't have to. Thank you so much. And Jamie's here as well. God, the boys are back in. Why do I always struggle? Ariosto. Ariosto, also here. Checked out your little channel with some Elden Ring stuff. And I do like Elden Ring. So I appreciate that. Grande Kimi Grande. The versatile. Hello, everybody. We are currently watching Sergio Perez stand at the front, as you have to get ready for this Grand Prix by standing at the front if you're Mexican. I don't know about this whole, like, if it's your home Grand Prix, you have to stand on your own at the start. It's a bit of a weird one, isn't it? Like, Logan Sargent gets to do it 3 times a year, bless him. Just has to stand all by himself at the front of the Grand Prix track. But there are the drivers lining up for what is looking like could be quite an interesting Mexican Grand Prix just because of the pure madness that was qualifying. And I mean, just look at the grid. It's a fairly good shuffle of cars here, there, and everywhere. And a few drivers taking some penalties, some engine penalties, and dropping back, starting from pit lanes, etc. On the note of channels, Wimbo wants to collab with you. He sent you a DM. Who's Wimbo? Wimbo. On Instagram? Wimbo. Oh, I think I do know who you mean. Do I know who? Yeah, well, I know who Wimbo is, but I didn't realize he'd sent me a DM. I'll have to have a look for that a little bit later on, but thank you for letting me know. Sam, thank you for subscribing to the channel as well. But yeah, I'd love to know what you guys are thinking. Like, can Ferrari do this? Obviously, a front row lockout. Going down towards turn 1. It's kind of a weird one, though. Charles Leclerc even said himself he's surprised to get pole position, but also sometimes starting from pole position is not the best place to start. First and foremost, if your name is Charles Leclerc never seems to win from pole position anymore. That's just a thing of the past. Like, if you're Charles Leclerc and you get pole position, you might as well go home on the Saturday because it's as good as it's going to get. And then secondarily, because here in Mexico, we have the longest run down towards turn 1. It is obscenely long. Let me show you the track board. So all the way up there is where you start. That red line, the start-finish line. And then you can see the run down to turn 1 is so long that if you get a poor start, you can be dropping behind 4 or 5 cars. If you get an electric start and a little bit of a slipstream, you can really make up positions all the way down towards turn 1. And then the problem you also have is turn 1 is the real only overtaking opportunity, because throughout the Grand Prix, what we're going to see is a lot of cars struggling through the final sector, struggling to stay within touching distance as they go through the final sector, and therefore not many overtaking opportunities. It's going to be all about the pit stops, in my opinion. The strategy is going to be incredibly pivotal. Thank you so much, Miles, for subscribing. But if you're Ferrari, if you can get both cars, or even just one car ahead of Max Verstappen, you're in a pretty good position going down into turn 1. But that is a little bit more difficult than it sounds, because Max Verstappen, 1, is in a Red Bull, and 2, is looking very, very quick. Even though he said himself he wasn't 100% happy with his qualifying pace, we know that the race pace of the Red Bull is always where it really comes to life. So starting from 3rd place is not too shabby at all. Yuki from 2021. Someone hit me in the back. Oh, yeah, that is very true. Yuki was absolutely smashed. Yuki's an interesting one. I don't know how it completely left my head that Yuki Tsunoda was taking parts this weekend. And I was like really confused yesterday when he didn't set a lap time in Q2. I was like, oh, maybe he's got a problem. Maybe something didn't happen. And then like instantly looked at it after the race and it was like, oh yeah, he's taking engine penalties. And I was like, ah, yeah, that makes a lot more sense. And I don't know how I forgot that that was going to happen. Although he probably wishes he hasn't taken those engine penalties this weekend, because Daniel Ricciardo has shown us just how quick that AlphaTauri is this weekend. And is in a really interesting position. As I said, the two Ferraris at the front of the grid. Then Max Verstappen just behind, as you'd probably expect. You know, Max Verstappen, if he's not on the front row, should be on the second row, and he is. But Daniel Ricciardo on a second row. On his second return to the Formula One grid this season. Like, he came back for a couple of races. Then he went off for 5 races again. Now he's back. Austin was poor from Daniel Ricciardo. They did put him on the wrong strategy, though, I would say, Daniel Ricciardo. They did put him on the wrong strategy in Austin, so that wasn't 100% his fault. But he's come back with a vengeance this weekend, has found the AlphaTauri in a perfect sweet spot for him, and has outperformed Sergio Perez. Sergio Perez drops to 5th place behind an AlphaTauri. That's the news. Should Sergio Perez just be dropped now? It is home Grand Prix. Let's just throw him under a bus. Like, Daniel Ricciardo has really ruined the party at this moment in time. If Sergio Perez can't get past Daniel Ricciardo, imagine Daniel Ricciardo sneaks a podium. Imagine Daniel Ricciardo sneaks a podium in Sergio Perez's home Grand Prix. Oof. Ooh. It's going to be very tasty to watch. Oh my god, thank you so much, man. Thank you, GameStar 70, I should say. Never underestimate the power of Ferrari strategists to bottle winnable races. I trust Sainz to overall Ferrari, but Leclerc, he's too agreeable. I think that's gone now. I think especially after last weekend in Austin, like, Charles Leclerc will be so annoyed at what happened in Austin. And he said himself that he was going to have a little chat. What is going on with my hair? It's annoying me. He was going to have a little chat with the Ferrari engineers and the Ferrari powers that be last weekend, Charles Leclerc. So I assume that chat has happened. I assume that chat was not a nice chat for the Ferrari team. And I assume Charles Leclerc has said to them, you know what? If everyone else goes for a 2-stop, I'm going for a 2-stop. We're not going for anything crazy. I'm not losing out positions to my own teammate, who I outqualified handedly last time around, and then dropped behind ridiculously early, considering. Oh, dear. Ferrari strategist, medium, soft. Wouldn't put it past them. They do throw in a strategy, though, Ferrari. I feel like Hamilton is also one to watch. All of a sudden, the Mercedes seem to find a little bit of pace in Q2 in particular. I mean, Q2, Q3 didn't quite translate for Mercedes. They maybe shuffled up a little bit, and they weren't 100% sure on the strategy at hand. But yeah, Lewis Hamilton is one to watch. Oscar Piastri in 7th place. I feel like he didn't really come to life in qualifying yesterday, but the McLaren car apparently is looking really good around here. Like Lando Norris was saying to himself afterwards that he probably should have been battling for pole position, especially because Max Verstappen didn't quite put in the lap that we expect from him, and Charles Leclerc managed to nab the pole position with Carlos Sainz in front. Feel like Lando Norris was kind of looking at that and being like, this could have been my pole. This could have been another pole position for Lando Norris, which would have been, what, the first time since Russia 2021? Although we don't like to talk about Russia 2021 too often. But yeah, Piastri is an interesting one to watch in 7th place there, because he'll be able to tell us realistically where the McLaren will shuffle into that pack. Unfortunately for Lando Norris, I feel like it's going to be a long weekend or a long afternoon in Mexico, just because starting from 17th, it's so hard. It is so hard to overtake here. he's going to have to really rely on a lot of other teams' strategies playing into his favor. He's going to have to rely on the McLaren being really quick in a straight line in comparison to the other cars. I know that he'll have DRS, but the McLaren hasn't been great in a straight line ever, like this season. So they're going to have to try something different with Lando Norris in 17th. And then Alfa Romeo, both drivers in the points would be massive for them. Looking at the constructor standings, I say 10 points should be insurmountable for Alfa Romeo. But if they manage to like double points finish, come away with like 5-6 points, all of a sudden it's kind of in it. It's kind of in there, isn't it? You know, if Alfa Romeo come away with 5 or 6 points, Williams only have one driver. I know Logan Sargent picked up a point. Like, we can look at the standings. Logan Sargent now has a point. Everyone has a point. I get it. But do they really? You know, he was 12th place. He had to have a couple of DNFs or a couple of disqualifications in front of him. He had a good race, but it wasn't a good weekend. I'm still not sold on the Logan Sargent train. And that's what I think opens the door for Alfa Romeo a little bit. Haas, I feel like the dream is gone. I was all for the Haas dream when we went into Austin, but the Haas dream is now gone. AlphaTauri, if anything, maybe might jump in there. And if Daniel Ricciardo ends up with a podium finish, they are going to hop themselves right into contention, all the way past Haas, all the way past Alfa Romeo, depending on Yuki Tsunoda's afternoon, maybe even all the way past Williams. Because Williams not looking great when it came to qualifying yesterday. Although Albon put in a good performance, and Albon did okay, like, considering, I don't know. Oh, is it me or you just keep glitching? Ooh. That's annoying. Really sorry, Sally. There's nothing on my end. I haven't lost any frames. Huh. I'll keep an eye on it, Sally. There's nothing on my end that is saying anything. I haven't lost any frames. Haven't dropped anything. I'll keep an eye on it. Hello, Emil, mate. Rick. It's 3:56 for Rick. I salute you. I salute you for getting up. Getting up or staying up? That's always the question for me. Like, I always think about this when we have, like, Japan, and Japan is at, like, 5 a.m. for me. It just feels like, do I get up or do I stay up? Get up or stay up is the real question. YouTube has had live problems for most people today. Oh, that's really annoying. I'll try and see if I can change a couple of the settings on my end. But yeah, if it's on YouTube's side, unfortunately, I have no way of accessing anything that is going on YouTube's end of things. 12 a.m. I love the fact that Formula One does that, though. You know what I mean? I feel like it's one of the only sports in the world where people really do watch it whatever time, wherever, because you just get into the routine of just being in, like, the Formula One sphere. I was thinking about this the other day. The fact that I literally live my life by the Formula One calendar. It's really, I don't know whether it's sad or, like, cool, but I just, like, every single thing I do, I always check the Formula One calendar. Like, I'm starting to book things in for 2024. Like, I've got, like, holidays possibly coming up and family events and birthdays and things like that in 2024. And already I'm like, what's happening on the 2024 Formula One calendar? Am I going to be free then? Am I going to be doing this, doing that? So I just live by the Formula One calendar. These cars dictate my entire life at this point. But I do absolutely love it. 4 a.m. for Rick. It's all right. By, 6 a.m. you'll be in bed. Or are you watching in bed anyway? It's all YouTube. That's really annoying. Thank you for letting me know, though, Jamie, because otherwise I would have been tinkering with settings. But I massively appreciate that. Coffee shots into this. Danny Rick win, says Baguette Lord. A little bit too far. A little bit too far for me. For me, I'm going to say no. Oh. Lando Norris struggling to get away on the formation lap. Oh, am I going to have a day where I'm just watching, or a weekend? I was already pretty disgusted with Lando Norris yesterday. Disgusted is a strong word. Disappointed. Just because I was really, really looking forward to seeing what his pace would be like around here. And he threw it all away in Q1. I blame Fernando Alonso to an extent as well. But I really, really don't want to have an entire weekend where I've got literally nothing to shout about on the Lando Norris side of things. Okay, Oscar's going to pick up some points. Cool. We're going to probably extend the lead over Aston Martin. Excellent work. I was hoping that we might be able to close the gap to Ferrari and Mercedes, you know. Just a little bit. I don't want to overtake Ferrari and Mercedes. I think that's a little bit of a long shot. But, you know, closing that gap would have been nice. Interesting to see where Alonso ends up as well. Because he's gone... Oh, he's kind of the last guy on the medium tyre. Slightly used medium tyre. 1 lap. But a used set of medium tyres nonetheless for Alonso. Be interesting to see how far he can go forwards, whether or not he can get that Aston Martin into the points, because he has been a points merchant, Fernando Alonso, this year. Albon starting on the hard compound tyre with Esteban Ocon. Lando Norris starting on the soft compound tyre. Is Lando Norris just hoping for an absolute screamer of a start? Move forward, you know, 4 or 5 places off the start. Duck in. First to pit, loads of clean air at the back of the track, put in some absolutely flyer laps, suddenly is in the podium positions. I'm just saying, it could happen. Could happen. Max Verstappen leaving a good gap to the guys in front. The Ferraris take their positions, and then Max Verstappen, as I said, leaving a little bit of a gap, and only just taking his slot on the grid. The Aston Martin of Fernando Alonso also taking his time, coming around the final corner. There's Lance Stroll, who's taking some penalties as well. He's going to start from the pit lane. Logan Sargent, our final car, starting on the grid. Wow. Your girlfriend threatened your iPad. Feels harsh. Here we go then. Green flag is waved. Logan Sargent's taking his spot. 5 red lights. And we're underway. And Max Verstappen looked like he got a really good launch straight off the bat. He's already in between the Ferraris. And it looks like we're going to go 3 abreast down towards turn 1. No, Carlos Sainz has been shuffled out of the way. I'll tell you what, though. It's going to go 3 abreast. And it's Sergio Perez. Charles Leclerc and Sergio Perez come to contact with one another, and that's going to be the Red Bull out. Oh, that is absolute heartbreak. Charles Leclerc's got damage. There was nowhere for Charles Leclerc to go. He was in a Red Bull sandwich. And Carlos Sainz moves into 3rd place. Lewis Hamilton with a screamer of a start is trying to go round Daniel Ricciardo. Daniel Ricciardo just about holds on to 4th. Russell up into 6th. Piastri's dropped behind Nico Hülkenberg. Takes that position back. Go on, Piastri. Daniel Ricciardo is all under pressure from Lewis Hamilton, Zhou Guanyu and Bottas. Oh no, Zhou just about hanging on to the point scoring positions. Alex Albon up into 11th place though on the hard compound tyre. Alonso Tsunoda in 14th, 15th. Lando Norris didn't really get the amazing start we were hoping for. George Russell under pressure now from Oscar Piastri, and Piastri moves back up into 6th place. This is an absolutely blistering start. Sergio Perez, though, absolute heartbreak for the Mexican. And it's opened the door for Max Verstappen. Verstappen in 1st place as we come round to start lap 2 of this. Leclerc behind. And Sergio Perez, it's box for Sergio Perez. So has managed to get that Red Bull back around. Is he going to be able to continue? On his home Grand Prix, tyres onto a little bit of an adjustment, possibly. Oh, and it's all over. That is Sergio Perez out of his home Grand Prix. Oh, that is devastating. That is absolutely devastating. Ah, that's annoyed me so much. Oh, let's have a little look then. Sergio Perez gets an exceptional start, gets past Daniel Ricciardo before they've even got down towards turn one. Carlos Sainz shuffles out of the way because Max Verstappen moves on to the inside. And Sergio Perez goes for it around the outside. Oh, and it just pinches in. There's nowhere for anywhere to go, really. I don't think... Yeah, Sergio Perez, an incredible start in the Red Bull. And the gap just opens up. He sees Charles Leclerc covering the inside, trying to fight with Max Verstappen. But as he turns in, Charles Leclerc's on the inside. Leclerc can't go anywhere. Maybe just needs to give the Ferrari a little bit more space. Yeah, Leclerc can't do anything. Verstappen is quite... I think that might just be Perez's fault. It's so hard. So hard to judge. We have started lap 3 of this Grand Prix, though. Let's shuffle over and look at how the drivers are making their way around. We have Max Verstappen, Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz still at our top 3 podium scorers at the moment. Daniel Ricciardo and Lewis Hamilton just behind. Oscar Piastri has been able to hold on to that 6th place ahead of George Russell. Hulkenberg suddenly is all... Oh, that is a hefty shunt for Sergio Perez there. And you can see the devastation in his eyes. Ouch. And Charles Leclerc happy to continue. And all okay. George Russell has a little look at Oscar Piastri, but not this time around for the Mercedes driver. That front wing damage for Charles Leclerc is going to drop him so far off the back of Verstappen. Verstappen's going to disappear into the distance now, unfortunately for us, I feel. He's already 2 seconds into the lead, and Charles Leclerc is going to be the bottleneck for a lot of these cars behind with that front wing damage. Gasly up into the top 10 in 9th place. Zhou Guanyu also just about rounding out the point scoring positions. Alex Albon, though, on the hard compound tyre is one to watch. Esteban Ocon has dropped all the way down to 19th. I haven't actually seen anything from him. I'm assuming on some sort of problem for Ocon, because Lance Stroll, who started from the pit lane, has already been able to get in front of the Alpine. Sargent up into 17th place, the one to watch at Williams, and Red Bull, a shake of the head from Adrian Newey. They're talking about whether or not they can send him back out into this Grand Prix. I mean, he would have to do something incredible. Virtual safety car. That is a strange time to go for a virtual safety car. I mean, we've had 4 laps since the Sergio Perez incident. But there is some debris that is still out there on the track. And a good chunk of what I imagine is Red Bull on the track. And Sergio Perez, very, very frustrated. Almost harsh to show Sergio Perez at that point, unfortunately. I do really feel for him. Especially considering the pressure that is on him at the moment. Whether or not he'll be in that seat next year come the Mexican Grand Prix, we don't really know. There's a lot of questions about whether or not he will be. I'm gutted. Really, really gutted. Oh, thank you for subscribing, Skinwalker. Appreciate that, mate. Let's see then. The virtual safety car ending. And we are actually going through the final sector. So it does give a couple of these guys possibly the opportunity to get a run at one another to turn 1 off the back of the virtual safety car. Lewis Hamilton behind Daniel Ricciardo, and the AlphaTauri, tell you what, the podium position looking more and more likely for Daniel Ricciardo as this continues. Charles Leclerc with damage, remember. Carlos Sainz sitting behind in the Ferrari. Daniel Ricciardo 4th. And Lewis Hamilton is the driver within DRS. George Russell also has DRS on Oscar Piastri, but neither of the Mercedes able to get past this time down towards turn 1. Also, you can have a little go down towards turn 4 sometimes. Nobody this time either. Nico Hülkenberg's already dropped a couple of seconds behind this pack of 7 at the front. And then Gasly in 9th. Zhou Guanyu still in 10th. And Sergio Perez is out of the Red Bull car. And I think that will be absolutely devastating for him. I think at this point in the season, with how everything's gone, he really needed a race to go his way, and he would have been hoping and praying that that race would have been this one here in Mexico. That he'd have been able to be up there on the podium at the end of the Grand Prix. Looked like he could have been quick enough to get a podium as well. Was up into the top 3 for all of half a corner. And Sergio Perez now out of the Grand Prix entirely. I can't watch the race because Skybox isn't working. Huh. Well, I'll keep you updated, Baguette. Don't you worry yourself. I'll keep you updated. Lewis Hamilton with DRS looking at the back of Daniel Ricciardo once again. Just can't get past the AlphaTauri. The overtaking opportunities are so limited here. You can see that Lewis Hamilton's Mercedes is a ridiculous amount quicker. Like, an obscene amount quicker than Daniel Ricciardo's. But just can't get past him. And he's going to start to overheat those tyres behind as well. Squirming behind Daniel Ricciardo. Leclerc gaining on Max, sitting around about the 2-second mark. Kind of hovering backwards and forwards between 2 seconds. Considering he's got damage to that front wing, I thought Carlos Sainz would be up underneath the rear wing of his teammate a little bit quicker, but Carlos Sainz maybe has been told to just sit behind for a moment. See then. Lap 8 of the Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton on Daniel Ricciardo down towards turn 1 once again. And again now, AlphaTauri so quick in a straight line, looking like he's going to still get the advantage. Lewis Hamilton has a little look, but again, he's not there. Nowhere near close enough. Then another little DRS zone down towards turn 4, but already you can see way too far back, in my opinion, Lewis Hamilton to go for any kind of move. Ooh. Yellow. Nope. There was a yellow flag. The yellow flag then went. Interesting. Let's have a little look at the sector timings just so far, because it will tell you where Daniel Ricciardo is really stretching away from Lewis Hamilton. You can see there, Daniel Ricciardo, second fastest in the middle sector and the final sector so far. So these are the best times from each of the drivers. You can see Kevin Magnussen putting in a solid first sector time all the way down in 13th place within a second of Valtteri Bottas. So maybe he has a little bit of DRS on his hands there. Lando Norris on the soft compound tyre closing in on Yuki Tsunoda and actually looking right underneath the rear wing of Yuki Tsunoda. Lewis Hamilton can't get past Daniel Ricciardo. Let's see if Lando Norris can get past the other AlphaTauri of Yuki Tsunoda. Tsunoda's probably fairly happy to be in 14th, considering he took the engine penalties and was supposed to be starting from the back of the grid. He's made up a few positions. Alpine of Pierre Gasly also starting to look at the back of Nico Hülkenberg. Hülkenberg becoming a little bit of a bottleneck in 8th place. Lando Norris was within half a second of Yuki Tsunoda, but not able to get past him down that main straight towards turn 1. Oh, Yuki Tsunoda actually attempted to get past Kevin Magnussen and went way too deep into turn 1. Little bit of a lock-up, outbraked himself and had to take to the grass, did Yuki Tsunoda. Oh, and that's when he lost the place to Kevin Magnussen as well. So Tsunoda with a little bit of a mistake. Charles Leclerc now 2.5 seconds off Verstappen. Carlos Sainz 2 seconds behind that. Another 1.5 seconds to Ricciardo. And Hamilton, are those tyres gone? Car is running hot. It is a problem that we have here in Mexico because of the altitude. It is the highest Grand Prix of the calendar by a considerable margin, actually. We are very high up above sea level in Mexico. And there just isn't the air to thin. Sorry, there isn't the air to cool the drivers down as they go around. And the cars start to run incredibly hot. We see lots of drivers lifting and coasting at points down towards corners just so you don't have to brake too hard. And you can keep your brakes and tyres within the right temperature range. It's just the whole car starts to fall apart in terms of temperatures. Oh, and that's Nico Hülkenberg with a little lock up into turn 4, which has maybe just allowed Gasly a little look at the back of the Haas, but nothing more than that at this moment in time for the Frenchman. Yuki Tsunoda has pitted and gone onto the hard compound tyre. And Lando Norris being asked to pull out to the right, try and cool his car down, I feel. But Lando Norris saying he's doing it. Nobody else is, so he needs to also stay competitive in the slipstream of the cars that are in front of him. Oh, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough on these cars. You can see a lot of them actually pulling away. Daniel Ricciardo really battling with Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton finally has been able to get the run down at Ricciardo towards turn 1. George Russell also having a look at Oscar Piastri, but Lewis Hamilton up into 4th place then. Daniel Ricciardo down into 5th, and possibly the tyres of that AlphaTauri just not quite holding up. Yuki Tsunoda, yeah, very early into the pits. Maybe just wanted some clean air, though. I can understand the early pit stop. Get yourself out in really clean air. And then just go for it from there. Leclerc has front wing damage. He does indeed, unfortunately. It will be interesting to see whether or not Ferrari spend the extra couple of seconds to put a brand new front wing on that Ferrari. Obviously, when he comes into pit, we'll have to wait and see. Yuki Tsunoda also with a track limits violation in the race as well. So Yuki Tsunoda, his first track limits violation, and the first of anybody, as I quickly pop that up for you. Driver 22, of course, 4 needed before anything really happens. Piastri under pressure once again from George Russell. Has dropped a couple of seconds. Oh, George Russell's going to have a little look. Is he going to go into the braking zone next to him? No, not this time. But is getting ever closer in that second Mercedes, George Russell. He's seen Lewis Hamilton jump in front of Daniel Ricciardo. And if he's going to close up to his teammate anytime soon, he's going to have to dispatch Oscar Piastri. Sergio Perez indeed out of the race, Rick. Out of the race. Gutted, really. Really, really gutted. There is Lando Norris coming into the pit. So Lando Norris going for that strategy. Lance Stroll overtaking Fernando Alonso as well. I've just seen on a replay. So a little double check. Yeah, Lance Stroll, 15th place. Fernando Alonso, 16th. And Lance Stroll up into 15th place ahead of his teammate. Not very often that you see Fernando Alonso overtaken, even less regularly Fernando Alonso overtaken by Lance Stroll. George Russell then. Let's see if he can have a real go at Oscar Piastri here. I'm also interested to see how Lando Norris's lap times are doing. 127.6 was his lap. I know he's just coming around. He hasn't finished the lap yet, obviously. Tsunoda with the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, though. 122.5 from Tsunoda. That is over a second quicker than Max Verstappen's last lap. So Verstappen on the radio. Watch the curb on turn 3. Car is not very lovely, says Max Verstappen, with a 3-second lead after 13 laps of this Grand Prix. What's your opinion on Russell? He's a controversial character all of a sudden, isn't he? Sort of got himself into a position where he's become a little bit of a headache for the Mercedes team. I think a lot of the Lewis Hamilton fans out there are not too big a fans of George Russell at this moment in time. But I think he is an incredibly quick driver, and I think Mercedes did the right thing in getting him in. Otherwise, he probably would have tried to take a seat somewhere else. Like, imagine George Russell is still in a Williams this season. That's just not happening, is it? It just isn't going to happen. He would not wait that long. Giampiero Lambiase is staring at the timing sheets, watching his driver continue to win more Grand Prix. Interesting that this is obviously Max Verstappen's opportunity to break the wins in a season record. Is a record he already holds, being 15 wins in a season. Could do that this weekend. Alex Albon on the hard compound tyre, now looking quick in comparison to Zhou Guanyu as well. Let's have a little look. Lando Norris's last lap time, 123.4. It's not sensationally quick. 3/10 quicker than Max Verstappen on the last lap. I feel like Lando Norris needs some scintillatingly quick lap times at this moment in time, because he's probably going to have to go for the 2-stop strategy and needs to make up that time now while he's in completely clear air. Like you can see, Lando Norris only just coming through 7, 8, 9. And then Esteban Ocon is the closest car in front, is going through turn 13. So Lando needs to use this clean air now and absolutely rattle along if possible. Thank you, Quazon, for the subscription. Appreciate that, mate. George Russell just whines too much. Yeah, he does. He's a little whiny, isn't he? But again, I feel like he's whiny because he wants more. He probably expected to, come into Mercedes and start winning Grand Prix left, right, and centre. That hasn't quite happened. And Zhou Guanyu under pressure from Albon. Albon does it. Albon up into the points once again for Williams. Devastating for Alfa Romeo, especially considering Nico Hülkenberg is running up in 8th place. The battle in the championship between that bunch, Alfa Romeo, Haas, Alpha Tauri, with Daniel Ricciardo running in 5th place. That is not over yet by any possibility. Yeah, brake cooling is definitely a problem up here as well. Drivers pulling out, trying to get some oxygen over their tyres, through the brake ducts if they can. Really tricky to obviously keep the car in perfect temperature conditions, not overheat your brakes and your tyres. And Hamilton happy. A balance check required and a balance check crossed off for Lewis Hamilton. And Lewis Hamilton does indeed have Carlos Sainz in his sights now, getting closer and closer to that DRS range of the Ferrari. Haven't really seen much from Charles Leclerc, considering he has that damage to his front wing. Thank you, Zach, for subscribing. Appreciate that, mate. Thanks for dropping by, checking in on the stream. Hamilton in DRS range now of Carlos Sainz, just is following around through the final sector. We could see Lewis Hamilton have a little lunge at a Ferrari sometime soon. I think it's probably the most interesting battle towards the front of the pack. Charles Leclerc has kind of disappeared off into the distance in comparison to his teammate, which will definitely frustrate Carlos Sainz a touch. Daniel Ricciardo, unfortunately, not able to hold on to the back of Lewis Hamilton in any real way. He's dropped over 2 seconds behind. Piastri then 2 seconds behind as well. Russell 2 seconds behind that. Hulkenberg then 8 seconds behind that pack of 7. Gasly is then next closest to an overtake, or very much closest to an overtake of anybody at this point. Gasly 4 tenths behind Nico Hulkenberg, but the Alpine just not quick in a straight line, is it? A real problem that Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon are going to have to deal with today is just they are not quick in a straight line. And even with DRS, Gasly not really within touching distance. Alex Albon closing the gap in the Williams behind as well. On the hard compound tyre, remember, Williams and Albon. Oh. Lewis Hamilton just being asked to slow down a touch by the Mercedes engineers, sort of letting the Ferraris come to them rather than pushing on and really trying to catch the back of the red cars. And Lewis Hamilton has dropped outside of that DRS range then of Carlos Sainz and is going to wait for the Ferrari to use its tyres for another couple of laps or so. Checo DNF means Lewis P2 in the championship. That is a very good point, actually. Obviously, the Lewis Hamilton disqualification kind of put that out of range a little bit. What is it? 41 points, the gap. Still a very, very big chunk of points Lewis Hamilton's going to have to make up. You know, he's got to do over 10 points per race. So even if he gets, 15 points, 12 points in this race, it's only just over 10. And then he's got to do over 10 more, over 10 more, over 10 more. So, fast fact, Alpine have 30 less horsepower than everyone on the grid. It does seem weird, doesn't it, that Alpine and Renault, they're so, they're so hardy on being a constructor in that way and having their own engine and supplying themselves. But their engine, in comparison to all of the other ones, just seems absolutely rubbish. Just seems rubbish in comparison. And they really do struggle when it comes to, especially Grand Prix like this, where it's all about that top speed advantage going down and towards turn 1. Pierre Gasly just having to hover behind the Haas, frustratingly. Stewards will investigate Charles Leclerc after the race, driving in an unsafe condition. Probably for that broken front wing, I would imagine. Did the safety car come out? It did not have the safety car. The virtual safety car, if that helps, Luca. Virtual safety car, does that count? Or do you need a full? Oh. Verstappen starting to struggle on the medium compound tyre, and he is out there at the front all by himself. So you can imagine the medium compound tyre starting to give up for everybody else as well. Unless your name is Lewis Hamilton, who is closing onto the back of Carlos Sainz. And they gave Carlos Sainz a couple of laps. And they've reeled him in. Lewis Hamilton seeming really, really quick around here. It's a shame he wasn't, able to jump up a couple of positions at the start, Lewis Hamilton. Maybe would have been the closest to Verstappen just on raw pace this weekend, Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton already having a little gander at Carlos Sainz as they head into the baseball stadium. Is it baseball stadium? Have I just made up baseball stadium? Stadium section. I don't know where baseball stadium came from. Verstappen into the pits though. And will pit from the lead. Charles Leclerc will lead a lap in Mexico. Possibly a couple of laps. Hamilton, DRS wide open, Ferrari in front of him. Is he going to look down towards turn 1? Has a little look, does Lewis Hamilton, but can't do anything at this moment in time. Maybe DRS down towards turn 4. Hamilton pushing again. Carlos Sainz comes across to cover. And a quick move from Carlos Sainz to close the door on Lewis Hamilton there. Hamilton dropping in and holding on to third place for now. Max Verstappen has come out pretty much perfect, you would say, between George Russell and Nico Hülkenberg. Isn't going to get caught up in the traffic of the Haas, but is going to be able to have a little bit of a run at George Russell. Now, this is interesting because Hamilton going quickly, especially if Lewis Hamilton is able to get past Carlos Sainz, does George Russell play a little bit of a role here? Try and keep Verstappen at bay for a few laps? Verstappen told to be sensible, I think, because, yeah, Max is absolutely flying. Max Verstappen came out and just decided he was going to go really quick, really now. Max Verstappen. Hamilton, I don't think is going to be able to get past Carlos Sainz once again towards turn 1, though. Then you have to be within that half a second. He's just sort of 6-7 tenths behind coming out of the final corner. Closes in, gets to sort of 2-3 tenths behind Sainz, but never right up beside him. Can never squeak a wheel. DRS down towards turn 4, and again, it's just not quite far enough for Lewis Hamilton, unfortunately. Thank you, H from Steps. Is that H from Steps? That is a retro reference. As if you go by just H, though. Imagine being just a letter. Imagine if I was just J. I suppose you can go by J, but it's J-O-Y normally. Imagine if I was just... You can go by M as well, I guess. It's usually E-M, but it's M, isn't it? Imagine if I was just Q, you know? I think Ferrari going to bottle their strategy again. I think Ferrari are trying to go longer on the medium because usually they hate the hard compound tyre, Ferrari. And they're not looking great on the medium. So the hard compound tyre is looking like it's going to be a difficult stretch for the Ferrari. Ooh, a little dummy possibly by the Mercedes. Hamilton not in as of yet. George Russell not in either. Hamilton DRS wide open. But again, just not anywhere near, really. Carlos Sainz. Max Verstappen. Hello. And you know how I said George Russell might be able to slow down Max Verstappen for a bit? It was a lie. It just didn't happen. Max Verstappen just flew by George Russell. George Russell now down into 7th place once again. Verstappen up into 6th. And already staring at the back of Oscar Piastri. Carlos Sainz going for a one-stop strategy. There you go. I feel like the two-stop is the quicker. I agree with Red Bull. I mean, it's always good to agree with Red Bull, but I do feel like the two-stop strategy is the quicker one. But here we are. Lando Norris has caught up to and dispatched Esteban Ocon. I feel like Lando Norris now wants everybody on the medium tyre to start coming in. Lando Norris has put on a really, really good lap times, actually. I'm just looking at the previous lap times for Lando Norris, and they've been pretty swift. I mean, it was what I said. Lando Norris needed to try and get past a couple of people on the soft compound tyre at the start. Didn't really happen. But then, pitted early, had himself a lot of free space. And Norris chunking in the lap times. We can still get some points here from Lando. Max Verstappen dispatches Oscar Piastri as well, 1 lap later. Logan Sargent into the pits. Lewis Hamilton finally... Nope, not this time. Lando Norris flies past Fernando Alonso as well. Oh no, Hamilton's dropped off the back. Who is that then? Oh, maybe that was a replay. Hamilton now 1.5 off Carlos Sainz. The Mercedes maybe giving up on those tyres. Hulkenberg looking okay for some points here. Under pressure from Pierre Gasly, but that Alpine just not able to do anything behind. The only problem that Nico Hulkenberg will have is Gasly might be able to get him on an overcut or an undercut. Just depends on where they'll come out in terms of traffic and so on between the two of them. Verstappen now closing in on Daniel Ricciardo. I don't think Ricciardo will put up too much of a battle. Max absolutely blistering pace in comparison to the rest of the field. Will go for a two-stop strategy though, Max Verstappen, but I feel like he's making up that 20 seconds fairly swiftly at this point in the race. Nico Hulkenberg does come into pit then. Hulkenberg has released Gasly. So here it is then. Can Hulkenberg get a really good outlap? Or can Pierre Gasly manage to do something special on these medium compound tyres and get himself ahead of the Haas? The real battle for 8th place there between the two of them. Albon continues, moves up into 9th place, of course. Valtteri Bottas into 10th. Kevin Magnussen, do they double stack the Haas's there? I think they did. Interesting. I suppose there was a more than enough gap between the two of them for them to double stack. The Mercedes engineers out into the pit lane once again, and it is Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton comes in from 3rd place then. He was 8 seconds off of Charles Leclerc and has obviously found a gap here, Mercedes. If they get in and out once again, especially if they've got a bit of clean air in front of them, Hamilton, I feel, could put in some really, really swift lap times. And it is pretty good from Lewis Hamilton. He's going to come out a good chunk behind his teammate, but ahead of Pierre Gasly. So Hamilton in a good 12 seconds of clear air. Let's see how quickly that drops downwards, though, from Lewis Hamilton. This is a real opportunity for Hamilton to go past the Ferraris. Ferraris, of course, looking like they're on a 1-stop. Lewis Hamilton probably on a 2-stop, you'd imagine. I know he's gone onto the hard compound tyre, but I don't know. 24 laps on the mediums. Double that on the hards would be tricky, but not impossible from Lewis Hamilton if he needed to. Maybe. No. I'm saying all of these words and I'm not believing any of them. Any ideas for recognizing 20,000 subs when it comes? And you don't jinx it. You just say thank you when it happens. No, I don't know, actually. What should we do for 20,000 subs? I mean, it could happen around about Brazil with another really good week. Or it'll happen... Actually, it might happen in the gap between Brazil and Vegas. So maybe we could do something on that weekend between Vegas and Brazil. I'd love to know your thoughts, actually. Any thoughts? What would you guys like to see? If I was going to do a special stream between Brazil and Vegas on that weekend, I've got the whole weekend, so it can be whatever you want. 48-hour weekend stream. Is that mental? Could do like a 24-hour stream. Always debated doing a 24-hour stream. I thought it always looked fun. But then it's like, what do we do in that 24 hours? I'd love to know your thoughts. Let me know in the comments. Lando is gaining ground like a rocket. This is what I mean. Lando Norris coming to life on those tyres. Oscar Piastri has pit, though, in front of him. So the two McLarens are now within touching distance of one another. But Lando Norris, his tyres 14 laps older than his teammate. But, I mean, even to be within touching distance of Oscar Piastri is pretty impressive from Lando Norris at this point in the Grand Prix. Here is an overtake replay from Lando Norris on Lance Stroll. I kind of miss the streams where we just talked about F1 things. We can just talk about F1 things. Why so much faster on the hard compound tires? Because he was in a nice little window of clean air. He's also battling guys that are on very, very old medium tires. So there's a lot of graining and a lot of tire wear in particular. Because when it comes to the tire wear around here, the brakes get so hot that you just can't keep your tires in the right thermal window. Whereas the hard compound tires, they're fresh, they're in that premium window already because they've been in the tire blankets. So Verstappen kind of had everything going his way. And that's why he's been able to just launch himself out of the pit lane. Lewis Hamilton, 12 seconds behind Daniel Ricciardo. George Russell did come into pit to get the second Mercedes done and dusted. Maybe we could just do just like a casual stream, chat Formula One for a bit. Okay. Antonio, Sally, I see what you're saying. Oh. George Russell on the radio. And Sally, you mentioned how he likes to moan. Well, he's on the radio. They're not happy with that pit stop because he's come out behind Albon, Piastri, Bottas. And he's going to have to try and get past Bottas fairly swiftly here, actually. Otherwise, Bottas is going to cost him a considerable chunk of time. Is going to get past Bottas down towards turn 1. Piastri is also going to get past Albon at the same point. But, yeah, George Russell not happy that he is stuck in this little window between. Verstappen needs to go away. Verstappen's just so quick, man. Same fastest lap. He set the fastest first sector of anybody in the Grand Prix. Fastest final sector of anybody in the Grand Prix. Third fastest in the middle sector of anybody. Actually, Lewis Hamilton has the fastest middle sector of anyone out there. But Max Verstappen already under the rear wing of Carlos Sainz. Do remember that the Ferraris are only one stopping, but even so, it's getting a little bit silly. Thank you, Oren, mate, for the subscription. And there's the move from Max Verstappen, and Verstappen goes up into second place, 8 seconds behind Charles Leclerc. And Ferrari, I'm worried. Gasly comes into the pits. Okay, does Gasly come out in front of Hülkenberg? Hülkenberg in 16th place. Oh, no, yeah, that's about right. But Gasly into the pits then. George Russell does get past Alex Albon fairly easily, actually. So after all that moaning from George Russell, nothing happening. Oh, and Gasly out behind Nico Hülkenberg. Charles Leclerc fairly happy with his title. Ooh. Lando Norris going past Valtteri Bottas into turn 4, and the Alfa Romeo on very, very old medium compound tyres. A little bit of a drift from Valtteri Bottas there. Love to see it. Is that Singapore behind me? It is. Singapore is my favourite Grand Prix. And always delivers, apparently. You know, Carlos Sainz getting the victory. Sergio Perez there having a chat to the Sky team, unfortunately for him. The only driver to have dropped out of this Grand Prix happened on lap 1, turn 1. A big shunt, and yeah, a lot of damage to the Red Bull. Unfortunately, they weren't able to get him back on track. But has obviously calmed himself down enough in the kind of 40 minutes or so since that's happened, and is now having a little chat. But yeah, Pierre Gasly has come out behind Nico Hülkenberg by a considerable margin, actually. Does feel like pitting earlier is maybe a little bit better, unless Gasly's going for the 1 stop. Maybe Gasly's going for a one-stop. You'd imagine Nico Hulkenberg having to go for a two-stop here. Going to be interesting how these point-scoring positions play out, because Lando Norris is also rattling around still. Obviously now in 9th place and closing in on Alex Albon. Neither of Albon or Norris really on that fresher set of tyres. Albon 29 laps into his hard compound stint. Norris only 18 after starting on the soft compound tyre. And here comes Carlos Sainz into the pit lane. Lewis Hamilton is the one to watch here, because Hamilton was stuck behind Carlos Sainz for a considerable chunk of time. Has he been able to get the cut on Sainz? Yes, by a margin as well. Lewis Hamilton going up into 3rd place by a good chunk of time. Hamilton putting in some really, really swift opening laps on that set of hard compound tyres. And now it's up to Carlos Sainz to try and close that gap. 5 seconds, the gap between Sainz and Hamilton as he comes out of the pits. Actually bumps up to 6 seconds now. Hamilton most definitely not chilling. He is flying right now. Leanne, thank you so much for the subscription. Joe Guang Yu on the radio. Ooh. Joe Guang Yu burning in the car. He is in 15th place as Joe Guang Yu. Possibly the brakes overheating in the Alfa Romeo already. And Charles Leclerc looks to be pitting from the lead as the Ferraris come out with another fresh set of hard compound tyres. And he is indeed into the pit lane. So Max Verstappen is going to be released back into the lead of this Grand Prix. And Lewis Hamilton, the 19 seconds behind. Oh, okay. Kevin Magnussen with the 2nd track limits violation. Yuki Tsunoda has one as well. Sainz has one, and George Russell also has one track limits violation. What's happened to Alonso? The Aston Martin just really no pace at all, to be honest with you. And actually, Alonso's had less pace than Stroll. So we've got to remember, Lance Stroll did have some changes. They decided maybe this is what Aston Martin do now. They just qualify poorly, start from the pit lane, change up their car completely so that they can... Oh! And there is the track limits infringement for Kevin Magnussen. That was almost a Kevin Magnussen into the wall there. As he comes around the final corner, Kevin Magnussen. Ooh, Logan Sargent has a little look, but doesn't get past by the looks of things. Valtteri Bottas finally comes into the pits. 31 laps on those medium compound tyres. So a one-stop strategy confirmed for Valtteri Bottas. Was, of course, running in the points, Valtteri, so needs that to run his way. Lewis Hamilton on the radio. And Hamilton possibly going for a one-stop strategy then by the sounds of things on the radio. Saying, do you think I can go all this way on this set of tyres? Lewis Hamilton now 19 seconds behind Max Verstappen. The problem he'll have is, okay, if Verstappen pits, yes, Lewis Hamilton will have track position. But Max Verstappen's going to be on a fresh set of mediums, you'd imagine. And they are going to absolutely rocket him through. Ooh. Oh! And there's a Haas in the wall. And that is Kevin Magnussen. Oh, that is huge. That is huge from Kevin Magnussen. He lost it on the final corner with Logan Sargent behind. And... oh, he's lost it through turn 6 into turn 7. Safety car deployed. Safety car deployed. We're in. We're in the money, boys. Safety car deployed. That's what we needed. And this is gonna be a safety car. This is gonna be like a long safety car. It's not gonna be just like a little safety car for everybody. This is gonna be a considerable safety car. This is interesting now then, because obviously people on the one-stop strategy, your Charles Leclerc's, your Carlos Sainz's of this world, going to be interesting. Max Verstappen in. Takes the opportunity to have a shorter pit stop, and I feel like that's perfect actually for Red Bull. 13 laps on that set of hard compound tyres, 38 left to go, minus, you can kind of minus the safety car laps as well. So Max Verstappen effectively guaranteed the victory here now, as he gets a fresh set of hard compound tyres. Charles Leclerc, though, also on a fairly fair... Oh, and that is a fire on the rear of the Haas car. Haven't seen a replay of what happened as of yet to Kevin Magnussen. He is out of the car and okay, but is now watching the rear left tyre set itself on fire. So, what now? So, everybody will group back up again. You can see the little yellow dot at the front of the pack, just going down towards turn 4. Oh, there's the replay. Yeah, something. There's got to be a damage there on that Haas car, because it's not like he loses it. He goes over the... Oh my goodness me. I think he goes over the... he goes over the rumble strips. And something broke on the rear. It looks like the suspension maybe broke on the rear end of the Haas. Suspension breaks on Kevin Magnussen's car as he's going through turn 6, and it's just over and done with at that point. And a red flag. A red flag changes it up slightly. So Max Verstappen did pit. Wouldn't have mattered too much anyway, because under red flag conditions, you are allowed to change your tyres. That does play against Valtteri Bottas quite a lot. Valtteri Bottas stayed out super long and is now dropped all the way down to 16th. And everybody is going to get a fresh set of tyres. We will get a standing start. We will get a standing start, ladies and gentlemen. Very, very interesting indeed. Let's have a little look at the track limits infringements just very swiftly. I think I mentioned them just before, but just to confirm, Kevin Magnussen, Yuki Tsunoda, Carlos Sainz, and George Russell, the 4 drivers with track limits infringements so far in this race. So I'll keep you posted, but we are over halfway, or near enough over halfway. Near enough halfway. So we probably won't see anybody pick up penalties like we did last time out. For that, in terms of the sector times, Max Verstappen setting the fastest sectors in terms of Sector 1 and Sector 3. Lewis Hamilton fastest in the second sector so far. And you can see just Nico Hülkenberg, Lando Norris, those guys came in. We're looking good on that fresh set of tyres. But unfortunately, now the red flag. Yuki Tsunoda's kind of put himself in contention all of a sudden as well by going a little bit longer on those hard compound tyres. So the big winners here are the likes of Yuki Tsunoda, Nico Hülkenberg to an extent as well. Lando Norris kind of not, unfortunately for him. The biggest loser, though, is Valtteri Bottas. But possibly a standing start to come after this red flag. Verstappen on the radio. Max Verstappen not happy about it. Max Verstappen not happy with a red flag. How long until race restart? Hasn't been confirmed as of yet. I will keep you posted as soon as I know. But Max Verstappen is jumping out of the car, so not anytime soon. I think the reason that Max Verstappen is not happy with the red flag is with a safety car, he probably backed himself to be able to get just enough of a gap so that down towards turn 1, he wouldn't have been under any kind of pressure. But with a restart, as we saw with Charles Leclerc, you're not always guaranteed to go down into turn 1 all by yourself. You're probably going to have somebody in your slipstream and then coming around the outside. In the case of Charles Leclerc, he had Max Verstappen up the inside, Sergio Perez around the outside. So Kevin Magnussen has put a real spanner in the works here. Ooh, maybe the red flag actually is to replace the barriers, because, yeah, that's the red flag, isn't it? The safety barriers look a little worse for wear, so the Tech Pro barriers will be replaced. And we'll get back underway as soon as possible. The race time has stopped. Of course, there is a limit. We have 3 hours in which the race can take place. 2 hours of track time to get full time. So you can see the track time has stopped at 11 minutes, 26 seconds over the hour. But how long till the restart? Not sure yet. Not yet. Not yet. Don't know. Don't know. Max Verstappen is not happy. Cancel red flags. It's just because of the Tech Pro barrier. I was kind of on Max Verstappen's side for a moment. Oh, his rear left tyre. The rear left tyre is effectively sideways. It's not even because he goes over the curb. I don't know what's happened. Just, what car? I suppose you are leaning on the left-hand side of the car there, but there's a real structural problem there for Haas that they need to have a little look at. Because Kevin Magnussen, okay, he's going quick, and obviously he's going around the right-hander, leaning on the left-hand side of the car, but literally the rear left tyre snaps. The rear left tyre is basically off of the car before he even goes into the barrier. Wow. That is very, very odd, I would say. Don't often see that anymore anyway. A lot of these cars are pretty much bulletproof. Of course, Charles Leclerc. Yeah, Charles Leclerc still with that front wing damage. No damage to the rest of Charles Leclerc's car, though, because it was a hefty shunt with Sergio Perez at the start of the grid. But yeah, the suspension broke. It was crazy. Really, really crazy. I thought it was the right-hand side at least. I thought it was him going over the curb and maybe like bouncing over the curb, hitting something, you know what I mean? Like putting that under stress. But actually it was the stress of just leaning the car into the corner. You're sort of shifting a lot of the weight towards the exterior of the car. And the exterior, because it's a right-hand corner, you got that left-hand side of the car. And the rear left wheel, obviously put under a little bit too much pressure. Massive. Kevin Magnussen okay, though. And Kevin Magnussen out of the car fairly swiftly afterwards and was all good. As we've stopped, have I seen the McLaren Hollister merch? No. But I also don't think I've been in a Hollister since I was about 15. Is Hollister still good? Actually, I don't know. Is Hollister good? I feel like I could rock a Hollister or something or another. Piastri on a podium. That's got 2 Ferraris in front of him. Maybe he gets in front of Daniel Ricciardo. But the rest is going to be tricky. The debris being leaf blowered away and swept to a side. Lando Norris out of the car, though, and in the McLaren garage. So the driver's not yet worried about getting back underway anytime soon. I wish that Sainz wins. It's going to be a struggle. I feel like Lewis Hamilton has had the best pace in comparison to like everyone else other than Max Verstappen. Like Max Verstappen's been electric quick. But actually, Lewis Hamilton's probably in a really good position here. We saw Sergio Perez start from 5th place and run down towards turn 1. We saw Max Verstappen start from 3rd place and run down the inside down towards turn 1. Maybe Lewis Hamilton can do the same. Starting from 3rd, get on the inside of Max Verstappen into turn 1. And then we have a Hamilton-Verstappen crash, because that's always what happens when those two are anywhere near each other. Especially when it's actually competitive. Lewis Hamilton might just take Max Verstappen out of the race for bants, you know. Lewis Hamilton's already had 2 races where he hasn't scored points. Why not make it 3, you know? Why not have 3 races in a row where you don't score any points? Qatar, you hit into your teammate. In Austin, you were disqualified. Just do us a favor. Take Max Verstappen out. Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz would love that. Charles Leclerc would absolutely love that. Feel so bad for Checo. Yeah, we haven't actually heard from him. I figured we'd have heard like a message from him or something. Ooh. Oh, that is interesting. So Yuki Tsunoda looking really good on that set of tires then. Ooh, okay, okay. So Yuki Tsunoda has a little bit of an advantage on the restart. Again, it's a standing restart though, so it's going to be tricky. 71 laps. It's quite a long race to be fair. It's not like the longest lap time. But yeah, 71 laps is a chunk of laps for these cars to have to do, especially in these conditions where it's very, very tricky. Nico Hulkenberg getting a little bit of a rundown. Still in the points, Nico Hulkenberg. Just about in 9th place. Oh, here we go. Sergio Perez. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Sergio Perez, I think, realizes that was his shot, right? That was his chance. A little bit flustered though, Sergio Perez, as you can imagine. I feel like it's tricky for him to have to come out and talk to Sky in that way when he's so passionate about it. I know it's hard for any driver at their home Grand Prix, but it does feel like especially hard for Sergio Perez because he just has so much affiliation with the Mexican crowd, and it's just the Mexican Formula One fans are just something different. Like they just really are extra special. Sergio Perez frustrated, knows that he had to go for it though, had to really push on, but not this one. 10 minutes. 10 minutes is what I've been told. Well, what I've been told. I'm seeing, if I show you the radio messages, 10 minutes, 10 minutes. Valtteri Bottas and Zhou Guanyu have been told. Is that 10 minutes to getting back in the car? 10 minutes to getting underway? The race is starting in 1 hour and 35 minutes. No way. No way. They've only got to put some Tech Pro barriers in. What happened? Kevin Magnussen happened, unfortunately. Well, actually, it was not his fault in any way whatsoever. The Haas car completely faltered underneath underneath Kevin Magnussen, and the rear left tire sideways before he could even get underway. Messi or Haaland? Tricky, tricky. The World Cup is a big factor in that, though, isn't it? Big, big, big factor. Max Verstappen making his way back to his car. So, we should be underway fairly soon. I haven't actually seen a time pop up on the screen unless I was just engrossed in listening to Sergio Perez. And he was discussing how he went for it. I feel like he did have to go for it. He really wanted to chase the victory here. He saw that as his real only opening, jumping into the front. Sergio Perez crashed, yeah. So Sergio Perez crashed turn 1, lap 1. Came into contact with Charles Leclerc. Sergio Perez a little bit more to blame, but not really anything that any of the drivers could do. Max Verstappen, Charles Leclerc, Sergio Perez going 3 abreast into turn 1. It was always going to be a little bit tricky for them to actually come out on top. And then Magnussen losing it on lap 35 of this Grand Prix. Spectacle, thank you so much for the subscription. World Cup, Copa America, and a solid season. I'll be honest, I did not watch any of PSG. That does not get me going in any way whatsoever. Thank you, Baron, for the subscription as well. I did watch Erling Haaland absolutely rattling goals for Man City, though, so I can understand why a lot of people are in hopes of Erling Haaland winning it. Because I don't know. Bottas on the radio. Standing start. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We get a replay. Standing start confirmed. It will be a standing start. You can see it there on Daniel Ricciardo's radio. Safety car will stay in the pit lane. So we'll go around mode 12. And we'll go to the grid. Start, you are P5. And there is race control, the order of the restart. Is there anyone out of position in comparison to where we'd expect them to be? Don't think so. The order that we have on the screen in front of us is the order that race control have confirmed. So we are going to have a standing start. Just, you know, a half race, little red flag in the middle. And, you know, it's like we're at the theatre. You know, you have a little interval in the middle. Everybody has an ice cream. The drivers get out, shake their hands a little bit. Ooh, God, hot out there, isn't it? Yeah, hot out there. Back in again. Second half. And the second half of the play is always the most dramatic half. You've never gone to see a play and you've been like, the first half, mind-blowing. Second half, pretty dull. No, they always throw a twist in the second half. What will the twist be this second half? I'd love to know your predictions. Standing start indeed. Game start 70. Should Leclerc attack for the win or try and stay in P2? That is a silly question. It's not. It's a good question. Because realistically, I think in the real world, if Charles Leclerc was, you know, the most cautious man, he would stay P2. I think in this world, with Max Verstappen just in front of him, a standing start with hard tyres is going to be a huge mess. Charles Leclerc not happy at all. I don't actually think Charles Leclerc has the best position here. I think what we saw from the start, it's so hard to judge actually because the Red Bull is just an anomaly. I was going to say that starting P3 and P5 seem to be the vintage point, right? Because Verstappen and Perez flew off the line. But they are also the two Red Bulls. So maybe it was just the Red Bull absolutely rapid. It's tricky, isn't it? Tricky to judge. But I want to say Lewis Hamilton is in a really solid position here. Hard compound tyre, yes. But obviously only half as much fuel as you started the race with. So lighter cars going into turn 1. If Charles Leclerc is correct and this is a mess and we get a little bit of a replay of Australia, if you remember, back at the beginning of the season, third race of the year, we had a red flag. Towards the end, though, so the cars were even lighter than this. We did have an absolute mess down in towards turn 1. But let's see what they can do this time around. Valtteri Bottas gives a little nod, but Bottas absolutely gutted with that safety car and then red flag. Came at the worst possible time for him, unfortunately. Verstappen, Leclerc, Hamilton are top 3. Carlos Sainz and Daniel Ricciardo will start just behind him, 4th and 5th. Still battling, though, for those podium positions. Piastri there as well in the McLaren, still running ahead of his teammate, even though Lando Norris was putting in some absolutely electric laps. Lando Norris did pit under the safety car, dropping him down to 10th. Started 17th, though, Lando Norris, so not having too bad an afternoon. But will be frustrated that he's not battling for the podium places at this point, you'd imagine. Lewis Hamilton, have a helmet change? Or are they just holding a spare helmet just in case? Not sure. They're getting Lewis Hamilton in. Wired up. And Lewis Hamilton doesn't look overly happy. I'd be buzzing if I was him right now. 3rd place. Run down towards turn 1 at Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc. Why not? George Russell there in 7th place for the other Mercedes car. Yuki Tsunoda, a huge winner in all of this. Starts in 8th place off this standing start. If he can just get away from the line moderately well, Yuki Tsunoda, looking for a solid points haul once again. And actually, Yuki Tsunoda, let's just very quickly mention this. Yuki Tsunoda, bada bing, bada boom, 8 points. If he can jump up above Bottas, if he can jump above Bottas in all of this, after the season that he's had, I feel like that would be good. Like, it would be a good representation of how good Yuki Tsunoda has actually been. Because I've been an advocate of Yuki Tsunoda hasn't had a bad season. He's been pretty good, actually. But people keep telling me, no, Yuki's overhyped. No, Yuki's done this, done that. I think Yuki Tsunoda's had a good season. He can prove that by jumping above Valtteri Bottas in the standings. Albon is too far away. Albon on 25 points, I don't think is going to be touched by anybody at the back of the grid. Daniel Ricciardo may argue differently, especially if he picks up a podium in all of this. But it does feel like Yuki Tsunoda getting another chunk of points for AlphaTauri, really, really exciting to see. Back to the race we go, though. Got really itchy nose all of a sudden. Not sure why. Alex Albon deserves a good car again. I feel like Alex Albon's kind of like, say Carlos Sainz left Ferrari or George Russell left Mercedes. I feel like Alex Albon's probably one of the drivers that they'd have in mind first. You know what I mean? Maybe a Lewis Hamilton replacement. I could see George Russell and Alex Albon at Mercedes together. That might be quite interesting. We are getting back underway then. Max Verstappen leaves the pit lane and will line up once again at the start of this Grand Prix. 37 laps left to go, technically, under the safety car, but safety car will stay in the pit lane. Ooh, there's a lot of cars on the medium compound tyre. I'll refresh the tyres in a second once we get everybody confirmed. They have to come out of the pit lane and line up before we get the tyre compounds confirmed for everybody. But a few medium compound tyres there that they're going to try and get to the end. Maybe the tyre degradation not as bad as people were expecting. Lando Norris on the medium compound tyre in 10th place. It's been rapid as Lando Norris. Just a shame he really, really messed up qualifying. And Fernando Alonso is the last car out of the pits and is out of the pit lane. Safety car follows on behind. Max Verstappen already round to turn 13. Ooh. Hamilton, Piastri and Russell on scrubbed medium tyres then. Here it is Hülkenberg medium, Lando Norris medium, Albon medium. Esteban Ocon on a fresh set of mediums as well. Hard compound tyres for Verstappen, Leclerc, Sainz, Ricciardo, Tsunoda on a fresh set. This is where I said it really plays into Yuki Tsunoda's hands because not only has he made the places, Look at that fresh set of hard compound tyres for Yuki Tsunoda to use. Yes, please, indeed. Hulkenberg 9th. I think Yuki Tsunoda actually is in a really good spot because he can definitely go to the end on those hard compound tyres. If he can hold on to the back of like Russell and Piastri and maybe push them to have to pit at some point, Yuki Tsunoda in a really, really good position. Can we see the map? Why does everyone want to see the map? There's nothing happening. The cars are all on the grid at turn 1. Well, not even near turn 1, because it's the longest run down towards turn 1. There you go. Here's everyone getting towards the thing. People love the map. Love the map. I just think the map's overrated. Map's overrated, guys. Doesn't give you anything. Doesn't tell you much. Doesn't do nothing. What does it do? I'm just checking. But here we are. We're starting all over again. 36 laps done. 36 laps left to go, effectively. And we are 5 red lights once again. And here we go. Now, Verstappen really good. Charles Leclerc not away very quickly, though. And Lewis Hamilton is going to have the slipstream. Carlos Sainz having a little look as well from 4th place. And Verstappen leading. Charles Leclerc peels out. Hamilton tries to go up the inside then. Hamilton, I think, a little bit confused at where Charles Leclerc was going to go at that point. And George Russell having a little battle with Daniel Ricciardo. I think a little touch between Russell and Ricciardo as Russell takes 5th place. Oh, and Lando Norris drops down a good chunk of positions. I think Lando Norris went wide at turn 1 there. A little battle through turn 4 and 5 as well. And Albon and Tsunoda side by side with one another. But Tsunoda holding that position just about. Nico Hulkenberg having a little look at the Williams. Lance Stroll back in front of Fernando Alonso. Gasly jumps in front of Bottas to get behind his teammate Esteban Ocon. The Alpines in 11th and 12th will be hunting down some point scoring positions. Hamilton going all or nothing with the mediums. Hamilton was just going for a move down towards turn 1, but Charles Leclerc was trying to follow behind Max Verstappen and didn't really get the opportunity to close in and then get the overtake done. Lewis Hamilton, though, on the medium tyre. Will he have the benefit going down towards turn 1 to Charles Leclerc? No, not really. Charles Leclerc going to be able to stick ahead, I think, unless Hamilton breaks insanely late. Does not. Leclerc holds on to 2nd place then. Max Verstappen doing very well indeed to hold on to 1st place. Leclerc in 2nd still. Hamilton in 3rd. And Hamilton needs that DRS to come back online swiftly. So another couple of laps until that DRS is available. Map gang. Lando Norris was the huge loser. Carlos Sainz already pushed out onto the grass. George Russell then comes out and gets towards Carlos Sainz, actually. So George Russell had a little go at the Ferrari, and Oscar Piastri tried to get past Daniel Ricciardo as well, but Russell does get ahead of Ricciardo. Piastri drops in behind. Yuki Tsunoda remains in 8th place. Probably has the cleanest start of anybody. Ooh. Lando Norris was squeezed and had to back out of it. And then also loses to Bottas. Ooh, yeah, Lando Norris. That is not the start you want. And we're back to square 1, really, with Lando Norris. But we've got a lot less time to go. So, unfortunately, that's it. DRS enabled for Lewis Hamilton. But we'll have to wait a little while. Just coming through the first sector behind Charles Leclerc. Right up underneath Charles Leclerc at this moment in time. Already a couple of seconds behind Verstappen, though. So if Lewis Hamilton has the Grand Prix victory in mind, if that's really what he's aiming for, needs to get past Charles Leclerc very swiftly here. Carlos Sainz already 1.7 seconds off the back of Lewis Hamilton. George Russell is having a little look at the back of the other Ferrari, and the Mercedes-Ferrari battle continues as Charles Leclerc and Hamilton second and third, Sainz fourth and fifth with Russell, Ricciardo in sixth place, Piastri in seventh, Yuki Tsunoda closing in on Oscar Piastri, and we possibly could be looking at an AlphaTauri 6 and 7, maybe goats, but 5 and 6 less likely. Here we go then, Lewis Hamilton down towards turn 1 with Charles Leclerc, DRS wide open on the back of that Mercedes car. Leclerc peels off to the inside, and Hamilton closed out of the move. I think Hamilton wanted to go up the inside as well. The map's good now. It's good now, but it's not good like when they're just going around behind a safety car. Oh, Yuki Tsunoda with a move. Gets past Piastri. Yuki Tsunoda on the fresh, hard tyres, looking quick. Now, do AlphaTauri let Yuki Tsunoda have a little run at George Russell? Sainz weaving on the straights. George Russell having another little moan on the radio. Should we do like a moan count? It's got to be a solid couple of moans now from George Russell. Wasn't happy about the pit stop. Actually was all right. Not happy about Carlos Sainz. Probably will get past him anyway. Lewis Hamilton, Charles Leclerc once again. DRS for the Mercedes. We're on board with George Russell, I think. I'd quite like to see what's happening ahead with Lewis Hamilton. There it is. DRS wide open. Lewis Hamilton much, much closer. Oh, gets onto the dirt. A little bit of dust kicked up by the Mercedes, but Hamilton has the position, is up into second place. And that was, well, it was pretty close. That could have easily been the Mercedes dipping his tyre onto the grass and losing it. But Lewis Hamilton kicks up a little bit of dirt. The left-hand side, Charles Leclerc moves over. And yeah, Hamilton just about down in towards turn 1. Ooh, that was a little bit close for comfort. And now 2.5 seconds, the gap between Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen. Hamilton was a little bit slower on that last lap than Verstappen, but Verstappen obviously in clean air, whilst Hamilton trying to overtake Leclerc. That rhymed. For soccer. 1,000 subs. Thank you so much for the subscription. Hamilton needs to get past Leclerc quickly. Yeah, but he's done it. He's done it. Leave Leclerc alone. He's gone for a lot, Leclerc, in the last couple of races. Bless him. Starts on pole position every single week, does Leclerc. Never wins a race. Might not even get a podium. He's got George Russell bearing down on Carlos Sainz. George Russell's going to be behind Charles Leclerc, I'd imagine, sooner rather than later. Safety car and red flag has, yeah, kind of narrowed in the grid a little bit. Yuki Tsunoda back behind Oscar Piastri. I don't really know what happened between those two. I'd love to know, but I haven't actually seen. George Russell again on Carlos Sainz down towards turn 4. No. Come on, Russell. You've seen your teammate get past. Now is the opportunity. Yeah, we've had the triumvirate. We've had a virtual safety car, a full safety car, and then also a red flag. Sorry, got completely distracted there. I was looking at George Russell behind Carlos Sainz. I've gained 100 subscribers. Since when? Since today? Probably not in a day. We don't normally do 100 subscribers in a day. That is a little bit silly. The map reminds me of the original Snake game. Max has eaten up everyone. Hamilton on the radio. Let's keep at it. It's going to be a tough stint, though. And Lewis Hamilton, to be fair, I think Max Verstappen has been given the extra boost button. And Lewis Hamilton now 3.6 behind Verstappen. Yuki Tsunoda all over the rear wing of Oscar Piastri as well. George Russell stays behind Carlos Sainz once again as we go down towards turn 1. So Verstappen, Hamilton, Leclerc currently our podium. Sainz and Russell in 4th and 5th looking closest. On alternate tyres though, Carlos Sainz on the hard compound tyre, George Russell on the medium. Daniel Ricciardo also opted for the hard compound tyre in 6th place. Oscar Piastri in 7th, under a lot of pressure from Yuki Tsunoda. Yuki Tsunoda with a brand new set of hard compound tyres. You can see basically everyone else on a scrubbed set. Hulkenberg and Ocon had a fresh set of mediums. Hamilton, that's a long way on this tyre. Every opportunity, says Hamilton's race engineer. So Hamilton not so sure. Oh, I've gone from 19.1 to 19.2. I don't think it's 100. What has happened? I don't think it's 100 though. I think I was on like 19.1, but then from my perspective, it was like nearly 2 anyway. I think we've done well. I was gonna say thank you. Thank you very much. I feel like I'm being a dick about this for no reason. But yeah, appreciate everybody who's subbed. Leave a like. If you leave a like on the stream, that'd be absolutely lovely as well. Maybe just whilst we're waiting for something to happen, go and watch a video or two. Thank you, Widow, for the subscription. Thank you, Sani for the subscription. We'll go for that. Charles Leclerc on the radio. Charles Leclerc being asked to lift off. So this is where they try and cool them down a little bit, cool the cars down by lifting and coasting, especially when they are in traffic. And Lewis Hamilton still within, 2.5 seconds, the gap between Hamilton and Leclerc, and obviously struggling. Yuki Tsunoda, rear wing wide open behind Oscar Piastri, having a look again. George Russell hasn't been able to get past Carlos Sainz and is now not within striking distance. I'm looking at this battle here. Yuki Tsunoda on Oscar Piastri. Not this time for the Japanese driver. I don't really know what I want here. I'd like Yuki Tsunoda to do well, but I am a McLaren fan. Come see, come sa. Ivan subscribed to you since last week. Thank you, Ivan. Okay, so Ferrari on the radio. They think 5 laps time will be the turning point, and that medium tyre will start to go off and the hard compound tyre will start to come back towards some of those other drivers. Well, if it is 5 laps time, that gives 23 laps of running for Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz, Daniel Ricciardo maybe, to really go for it. And Oscar Piastri will be very upset by that, because Oscar Piastri on the medium tyre already under pressure from Yuki Tsunoda. Doesn't need Yuki Tsunoda also to have the tyre advantage. Currently Piastri on the medium, Tsunoda on the hard, and Piastri just about holding on. Do I think Ferrari will manage to get a podium? Oh, yeah. I think they'll get a podium from this position. George Russell really not causing too much of a headache for Carlos Sainz at this point. Hasn't been able to get actually up alongside him at any point. And you've got to remember, Russell's got to get past 2 Ferraris, and the hard compound tyre is going to come back towards some of these guys in particular. Verstappen's still fastest of anybody, though. Oh. Oscar Piastri getting a little bit further ahead of Yuki Tsunoda, actually. Maybe Tsunoda just holding on a touch, waiting for those tyres to come towards him. Alex Albon still running in the points. Nico Hülkenberg in 10th place as well. Although Lando Norris now looking like a completely different animal. I feel like Lando Norris has gone through real stints of this race where he's looked absolutely electric, then dropped a couple of positions, then looked absolutely electric, then dropped a couple of positions, dropped 4 positions off the start, Lando Norris, but now is making those back up. Within half a tenth of Esteban Ocon, and we know that the Alpine is not quick in a straight line, so Lando Norris is going to be up to 11th place, and imagine after this straight. There it is. Down to turn 1. Goes up the inside. Ooh. And actually, Nico Hülkenberg, very slow through turn 1. And Lando Norris nearly into the back of the Haas. Had so much better drive. And Lando Norris now looking at some points for the first time. Ooh, Zhou Guanyu dropping down into 18th place. Was that burning on Zhou Guanyu possibly? A set of brakes that are no longer really working for the Chinese driver because he has just continued to drop. Was in the point scoring positions at the beginning of this race, remember, Zhou Guanyu, and now running last of the guys remaining. Thank you for being live. No problem at all. I absolutely love it. Can we go back to sector time? Are you joking? Are you joking, Rick? You having a bubble? Of course we can. Hamilton actually quickest in the first sector, Verstappen quickest in the second, Charles Leclerc quickest in the third. But Lando Norris is the one I've got my eye on. Just so quick in that first sector, Lando. Obviously he has the benefit of DRS every single lap at this point and is flying past people. Oh, I thought that was going to be George Russell out of the race there. Oh, Carlos Sainz cut across the front of him. George nearly. George... yeah, he's just measuring it up, George Russell. Just measuring it up. Measuring it up is George Russell. Just over and over and over again. And the medium tyre is going to start to go off at some point. Ferrari said it's going to be when there's 23 laps left to go. So the medium tyre apparently still the better tyre for at least a couple more laps in the Ferrari world. But the hard compound tyre should come to fruition. George Russell on the radio. Moving underbreaker by Sainz again, says George Russell. And Carlos Sainz, to be fair, it did look very close between the two of them down towards turn 1 last time around. Lando Norris up into the points as well, by the way, I should have mentioned. And now 1.5 seconds behind Alex Albon. Alex Albon was on a fresh set of mediums, though, wasn't he? No, scrub set of mediums for Alex Albon. Scrub set of mediums. Lando Norris closing in on those point-scoring positions. Yuki Tsunoda still right underneath Oscar Piastri, by the way. George Russell has a look down towards turn 1. Not this time. Yuki Tsunoda has a look at Oscar Piastri. Not this time. Oh! Oscar Piastri, though, all out of shape in turn 2 and turn 3. So Yuki Tsunoda is going to have DRS down towards turn 4. The Japanese driver pulls out to the outside. Is he going to go for a little switchback? Can't do it. Piastri holds on. It's getting dangerously close between those two. And there is Fernando Alonso retiring the car. Fernando Alonso is having a dire second half to this season, isn't he? Just absolutely... Oh, here's the move from Yuki Tsunoda. Down towards turn 1. Piastri on the inside. Tsunoda. Oh, there is a touch. Right front, left rear. Oscar Piastri is very lucky to come away from that and be fine. So is Yuki Tsunoda, to be fair. I don't know. It's tricky. Thank you, Pani, and thank you, Fla, for subscribing to the channel. We're absolutely flying today. Mexico's got us feeling good. Maybe I should have worn a sombrero or something. Maracas. Mexico's got us in. Oh, and there is the touch. They've touched again. Yuki Tsunoda and Oscar Piastri. And this time, Yuki Tsunoda is sent on a spin. And Tsunoda is going to go across the grass and is going to drop all the way to the back of the pack. And that was Yuki Tsunoda looking like a really, really solid points finish was on the way, dropping all the way back to 16th place. That is frustrating. Lando Norris has jumped ahead of Alex Albon as well. And Lando Norris absolutely electric right now. So Lando Norris now 2 seconds behind his teammate. If Lando Norris gets to Oscar Piastri, no offense, Oscar, but you've got to give that place. Tsunoda on the outside. Piastri just hits him, man. Tsunoda on the radio. Just an expletive. Piastri. Yeah, Tsunoda just hits him. Tsunoda just hits him. Nothing there. But Oscar Piastri not the pace today, unfortunately. Let's see what Tsunoda can do from 16th place then. Possible damage to the AlphaTauri as well, though. Ooh. Incidents involving Tsunoda and Piastri causing a collision, of course. I think Tsunoda might be at fault there, but I'm slightly biased. So, there we are. Track limits infringements are as they were when we started. 2 for Kevin Magnussen, 1 for Tsunoda, 1 for Sainz, 1 for Russell. Track limits infringements, as I said, same. There we go. Just loaded as I said them out loud. But the radio is interesting. Where can we get a radio message from Yuki Tsunoda? Is any in them? No. I think I missed it. He's at the back now. Piastri, 4.3 Russell. Oh, okay. So Daniel Ricciardo was under pressure from Yuki by the sounds of things. They were keeping him updated on his teammate. But nothing from Tsunoda at this moment. Oops. George Russell has dropped off the back. Ferrari with the hindsight being like, don't worry, Carlos, hold on for 2 more laps. Bang. 2 more laps it has been, and 2 more laps. Suddenly, Carlos Sainz peeling away from George Russell. Charles Leclerc closing in on Hamilton. So the hard compound tyre starting to reel the drivers back in again. Verstappen all by himself. 10 seconds ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Charles Leclerc reeling Lewis Hamilton in. Now 5 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton. Carlos Sainz. Maybe we're looking at a double Ferrari podium here. If the hard compound tyre is going to be really quick for the last 20 laps of this in comparison to the medium runners. Let's keep a look then. So Charles Leclerc, 5 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton as they come through the final sector. Let's see this on 19 laps left. So on lap 53, we'll see how much closer Charles Leclerc is. Is that hard compound tyre really coming to life for Ferrari now? Seems like Carlos Sainz has been able to keep George Russell at arm's length for long enough to make sure he's done. Ricciardo P4. If the Mercedes really do drop off a cliff, let's have a little look. Last time around, George Russell 123.2. Ricciardo was a 10th quicker last time around. Ocon and Bottas going side by side with one another. Battling for 11th place. They know that the points are there and available. Oh, no, sorry, that's Bottas and Gasly. So Bottas trying to battle for 12th place here. We know that the Alpine not quick in a straight line. So Gasly doing everything that he can to position that car as far away from Valtteri Bottas as he can get. Verstappen still 10 seconds ahead of Hamilton. Charles Leclerc 4.9 the gap to Hamilton. So if the hard compound tyre is coming to life, it's slowly. How many can Max lap? Considering we've had half a race, I mean, I'd be impressed if he caught anybody, but it is Max Verstappen. Zhou Guanyu, 47 seconds behind. Probably then, yeah. I feel like he'll just manage his tyres at some point, though, Verstappen, right? I feel like he'll probably be managing his tyres already. Should have been managing his tyres from about 10 laps ago. Incident involving Tsunoda and Piastri still under investigation. And Pierre Gasly, once again, having to defend from Valtteri Bottas, positioning his Alpine on every single apex. Yuki Tsunoda, not very happy on the radio. He is faster than the cars in front, that is true. 123.5 from Tsunoda's, like 3/10 quicker than Logan Sargent, who's the car in front. But Yuki Tsunoda in 16th place is going to have a hell of a task on his hand if he's going to get anywhere close to where he was going to finish the Grand Prix. Remember, Oscar Piastri still running in 7th. Lando Norris has kind of slowed down a little bit. Maybe just come to a bit of a breather on the medium compound tyres, holding them in a nicer temperature window, especially considering they have got to get to the end on those medium compound tyres. Everyone on the mediums, though, looking pretty good. Gasly, the first driver on the hard compound tyre beyond Piastri. Ocon on the radio. Ocon, can you say to Haas that I'm going to go for it? Wow. Here he goes then. Ocon is going to go for it. And might go around the outside. And gets a little bit out of shape in turn 1. What a weird strategy from Esteban Ocon to just let him know that he's going to go for it. Tell Haas I'm going to go for it. Weird one. Bottas not able to get past Gasly this time either. There's Sergio Perez in the Red Bull garage, I think, just thanking the team for their efforts over the course of the weekend. Obviously, apologizing as well, and is going to come out and say hello to the fans, I think. Ooh. Oh yeah, Fernando Alonso. Possible debris damage on Fernando Alonso's car from the beginning of the race. So Alonso decided to just call it quits and hold on to those engines, gearboxes, and so on that they have left for the rest. Is this a quiet chat now? Not necessarily quiet. There's just not too much going on. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna lie to you right now. There's not a lot going on in the race. Don't tell anyone. But Lewis Hamilton is 10 seconds behind Verstappen. Leclerc, who was supposed to come to life, about 5 laps ago, still 5 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton. Carlos Sainz then 4 seconds behind that. Russell 2.5 seconds. Ricciardo 2 seconds. Piastri and Norris are the only 2 drivers within any kind of touching distance inside the top 10. 15 laps to go. McLaren on the radio. Andrea Stella, I imagine, discussing with both engineers, giving the heads up to the drivers. Whether or not the drivers listen to what they're told is a completely different thing. Piastri on the radio. Piastri on the radio, given needs to find half a second. Yeah, because Lando Norris is 122.6. Oscar Piastri are 123 dead. So Piastri needs to find half a second or move out of the way. How long are they going to give him? A lap? Oscar Piastri goes deep into turn 1. He's not going to find half a second there. Lando Norris finds half a second in that corner, I think. Wow. Yeah, Piastri decides, actually, you know what? Lando Norris is just absolutely flying at this point. I think that was polite from the team, and Lando Norris thanks Oscar Piastri and the team. And now Lando Norris on the battle once again. What could Lando Norris have done if he qualified well? Oh, man, it's so frustrating. I was like, for a moment there, I was elated. I was like, Lando Norris is going to have a go at Daniel Ricciardo. Yes. Shouldn't be battling with Daniel Ricciardo. Can't get angry at him because he's doing really well. But I am angry at him. Oscar Piastri, though, holds on to 8th place and looking moderately comfortable ahead of Alex Albon. 8 seconds, the gap between the McLarens and the Williams in 9th. So Lando Norris then 2.5 seconds the gap to Daniel Ricciardo. The medium tyre on Norris, the hard compound tyre on Ricciardo. No love lost between these two. They did get on fairly well as teammates, to be fair. Like, I don't think there was ever any bad blood between Lando Norris and Daniel Ricciardo, but Daniel Ricciardo would absolutely love to finish ahead of both of the McLaren cars after how it ended between them. And Logan Sargent, Lance Stroll having a little battle for 14th place, and Logan Sargent slots in behind the Williams. Oh, sorry, the Aston Martin. Lando's a brilliant driver. I agree. I think Lando Norris is top 3, in my opinion. But when he messes up a qualifying session as badly as he did, I'm not as convinced. Oh, Logan Sargent on the radio. To be fair, that was a little bit of a strong defense from Lance Stroll. Let's say those words. Strong defense from Lance Stroll. Frozen Pause. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Appreciate that, mate. I always say mate. Mate's fine. Mate's gender neutral. Lando Norris within striking distance of Daniel Ricciardo within 2 laps, apparently. And Logan Sargent, again, too much moving under brakes from Lance Stroll. Let's have a little look then. Logan Sargent now on Lance Stroll once again. Don't know if he's as close this time around. He's just under a second. Does get the DRS, the Williams, but doesn't have a go this time around. I'll keep you posted on that one. Sergio Perez gives the crowd a wave, and that is why there is a shout and a scream from the people in the grandstands. Ooh. I think they'll have a little word with Lance Stroll. That was a little bit much into turn 1 on Logan Sargent, especially considering your battle for 14th place. I know Formula 1 drivers, they're competitive, they fight for every single possible position that they can get. But, 14th place, let's not kill ourselves over it. Lando Norris then, 122.6 last time around. Daniel Ricciardo, 123.1. George Russell, 123.3. George Russell might have killed his tyres behind Carlos Sainz, because those medium tyres on George Russell's car are not looking pretty. Don't think it was Lando's fault in Q1 if Alonso had not spun. Yeah, I know what you mean, Andy. I appreciate that, obviously. Yeah. But he didn't get the banker lap in. He made two pretty poor attempts at banker laps. So, I don't know. Do you think Lando will win a championship? I really hope so. He's good enough. He's good enough on his day. If he gets the right car, that he can beat anyone out there. But there's a few ifs, buts, and maybes that he's yet to show us. He hasn't yet won a race. Has bottled a couple of qualifying sessions this season, not going to lie. There's a few things that still need to be ironed out of Lando Norris's repertoire. Daniel Ricciardo then, 6th place right now. Lando Norris has the DRS already A 123.1 again from Daniel Ricciardo and a 122.4 from Lando Norris means that he is now within striking distance. And actually, with the DRS, is right underneath Daniel Ricciardo right now. He's already 2/10 off Daniel Ricciardo's rear wing. Might even just have a go down towards turn 4. Gets a little bit out of shape at turn 3. Maybe not. Well, maybe. Yeah, I think he is. Ooh, Ricciardo covers the inside. There is no love lost between those two, as I said. Ricciardo, and there might have even been a tiny little touch, but Norris has the inside of turn 5 and gets the position done. Lando Norris, 3.3 seconds behind Russell. What was Russell's last time? A 22.9. Again, half a second quicker from Verstappen, from Norris. Norris absolutely flying. Thank you, Jinx, for the subscription. Appreciate that. Great overtake from Lando. I love that from Lando Norris. That is vintage Lando Norris. Head down, Piastri, 3 seconds behind Ricciardo. So Ricciardo just, keep it going. Holding on to 7th place. Still a huge result for Daniel Ricciardo and the AlphaTauri team. If they can hold on. Has Russell been given the hurry up then? Let's have a little look. Yeah, not really. 122.9 from Russell. Oh no, 123.2. I suppose that he had that overtake on Ricciardo, kind of slowed him down. I'll give Norris another lap to see where he is going to be gaining on George Russell. Max Verstappen now 12 seconds ahead of Lewis Hamilton, nearly 13 seconds ahead of Lewis Hamilton. And I think lifting and coasting because he's not putting in like the quickest times of anybody. Not putting in the slowest times of anybody either, though. Charles Leclerc, those hard compound tyres not really coming to life, unfortunately, for the Ferrari in the end. 5 seconds has turned to 6 in 3rd place. Carlos Sainz, 4 seconds behind his teammate. George Russell then another 5 seconds behind in 5th place. So Lando Norris is the only driver really with any chance of making up a position in the top 10, I would say. Because Daniel Ricciardo, 7th place, should have just enough. Oh, I don't know, actually. Oscar Piastri now just 2.3 behind. So the McLaren's looking to make up positions. Albon then 7, nearly 8 seconds behind Piastri, not going anywhere. Hulkenberg then another 7 seconds behind. So Hulkenberg holding on to that point from Esteban Ocon still. Ocon on the medium compound tyre though. Gasly on the hard has been able to hold off Valtteri Bottas just enough. Hulkenberg's just literally parking it on the apex and being like, done. Boring race as usual. No. It's got a little bit of a boring end to it, but there's been enough going on, man. Am I a Lando fan? I am indeed, yeah. Can you see it behind me? Got like a little Lando box, Gasly box, McLaren above my head. Singapore over there. Ooh, looking at Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon. Little bit of a battle here between the trio for the final points position. That'll be interesting, actually, because there is a real point up for grabs for Esteban Ocon there. The Haas will be desperate to cling on to that as much as they possibly can. Yuki Tsunoda all the way down in 16th place will be ruining that. That point should have been his, or at least a few points should have been Yuki Tsunoda's. But that collision with Oscar Piastri has opened the door and now has made a real nice battle for that final point scoring position in 10th. And there is Max Verstappen. We haven't actually seen him on camera very much at all since the restart. Wasn't happy about the red flag, Max Verstappen. Obviously thought he might be under pressure down in towards turn 1. Lewis Hamilton gave it a go. Charles Leclerc got in the way, and nobody really had that run at Max after all. Lewis Hamilton then had to wait a considerable chunk of time to have a go at Charles Leclerc. Did get in front of Charles Leclerc, Lewis, but then never had the chance to get anywhere close to Verstappen. Wow, Lando Norris on the radio has been given a little bit of a... Oh, that is a dig if ever I've heard one. So George Russell is now 1.6 seconds ahead of Lando Norris. Norris nearly within striking distance. And they say, we know what George Russell is like. Give him some space. Basically, you know, he's all or nothing. Okay. Okay. Wow. Lando Norris flying. 1.4 the gap. What was the lap times last time around? Oh, he's half a second quicker last lap, Lando Norris, and they're coming around the final few corners together now. Lando Norris, is he within DRS range? No. No DRS for Lando Norris yet. 1.2 the gap. Maybe he was just been holding onto his tyres though, George Russell. Just a touch. Because obviously has been miles away from Carlos Sainz for a while now. But then probably killed those tyres behind him. So if I sub, can you shout me out, please? Yeah, I shout out whenever it cuts. So there's like a little animation that comes up and it tells me when people have subbed and then I read it. So yeah, of course. Of course, Andy. I mean, I'm talking to you now. And you haven't even subbed. So if anything, I deserve a sub for the fact that I'm talking to you without having subbed. Max takes P1. Can we go to the sector timings for the rest of the race? Rick, you are something. Nah, of course. McLaren don't want overheating in Russell's dirty air. I don't think that's the... I don't know if that was the hint there. What have I got for dinner? I had... What did I have? I had pasta for dinner. It was a while ago, though. I have dinner very early on race days like this because I have to get like everything set up and I have to get all these graphics done and make sure it's all set up and ready to run. So it takes me a couple of hours. And then I do this. So it's now 10 o'clock. Can't eat now, can I? Too late? Too late to eat now. So yeah, I had a very early pasta dinner. And here we are then. Lando Norris with the DRS. Final of a sudden. Down towards turn 4. Not this time around. 6 laps left for Lando Norris though. And very much within striking distance. Oscar Piastri still 3 seconds behind Daniel Ricciardo. So that one hasn't really come to fruition like I thought it may. Esteban Ocon has got past Nico Hülkenberg. So Ocon has jumped in front and got a point. I missed that one. How did I miss that? But Ocon up ahead of the Haas and the Alpine steals away that final point. Here is a replay then. Ocon, DRS wide open, slipstream all the way down, peels out to the outside of the Haas. Nico Hülkenberg, not really too much he could do. Ocon got the move done before they got to the apex. And as soon as Ocon then has the race in line, that is the move over and done with. But here is Lando Norris. DRS wide open. Come on, Lando. George Russell peels onto the inside. Gets one move, all right? I'm going to be very strict on this from George Russell. Because as we heard on the radio, He's all or nothing. I'm not happy about it. I'm in room 227, my condo penthouse. Well, mate, if you're in a condo penthouse, send us some cash, would you? Let's share it between us. There's, you know, over 200 of us in here. Maybe £1,000 each, if you fancy it. Lando, go on! Lando with the move, up into 5th place. Again, Lando, if you'd have qualified well, where could this have been? He's been so quick. This has been like the quickest I've seen Lando Norris in so long. And he has been... And he started from 17th. God's sake. Am I a Max supporter? No, not in any way. not in any... Lance Stroll and Valtteri Bottas came to a little collision. Is that in the stadium? It is. Wow. Lance Stroll goes for an overtake inside the stadium section. Lance Stroll was ahead. Valtteri Bottas then clips the rear end of Lance Stroll. And that ends his afternoon. Yuki Tsunoda and Logan Sargent just behind then capitalise and get past Valtteri Bottas. And Gasly has also made a jump on Nico Hulkenberg as well. So Hamilton illegal car once again. Hopefully not. No, there's not. There's a lot less bumps around here. A lot less bumps than we have in Kota. And Lance Stroll just deciding to give it up at the end there. 3 laps left to go, and Lance Stroll has had enough. 2 DNFs for Aston Martin. Joins Alonso in 18th. Kevin Magnussen, obviously, with that spin into the barriers, causing that red flag. And Sergio Perez left the Grand Prix, his home Grand Prix, after less than a corner. Charles Leclerc's dropped to 7.5 seconds behind Hamilton, 4.5 seconds to Carlos Sainz. Lando Norris, as quick as he has been, and he's been absolutely electric, unfortunately is not going to be able to make up the 8 seconds to Carlos Sainz in 4th place. George Russell looking like a 6th place finish is pretty much all he's got. Daniel Ricciardo within DRS. George Russell has dropped off a cliff. Do you reckon George Russell just absolutely weathered those tyres? Because Daniel Ricciardo is closing in. Daniel Ricciardo was 0.4 of a second quicker than George Russell last lap. And is within the DRS range of George Russell. And George Russell is all or nothing. We know that now. Oscar Piastri, 3.5 seconds behind 7th. So he's pretty much confirmed. Albon in 9th place. Another couple of points for the Williams driver. Very impressive once again from Alex Albon this weekend. And Esteban Ocon will round out the points in 10th place. 13 seconds behind Albon in 9th. And 3 seconds ahead of his teammate Pierre Gasly. And that looks like it's going to pretty much round out the points. So Ricciardo versus Russell. The 2 R's. The Pirates' favourite drivers. Russell and Ricciardo are going to go down to turn 1. And this is going to be it then for Daniel Ricciardo. Is he going to have enough straight line speed to go at George Russell? He's got 2 opportunities. DRS open for for Daniel Ricciardo on George Russell. Wow, and that AlphaTauri is quick in a straight line into the braking zone. There's not a lot of gap. Wow. Naughty Stroll. I didn't actually see like the full incident, but it felt like both of them were not great. Danny Rick is gonna overtake George. Looking close. Half a second behind now. George says he turned in on me. To be fair, if Daniel Ricciardo and George Russell take each other out, Nico Hulkenberg back in the points. Which I know Jamie will absolutely love. So Max Verstappen starts the final lap of the Grand Prix. And yeah, looking fairly comfortable, I think. not going to be able to pit, but also has the fast lap anyway. So Max Verstappen looking like another 26 points in the bag for him. And with 3 races left to go, he is just looking untouchable still. Here we go then. Daniel Ricciardo, what have you got? 0.8 of a second the gap as they come around the final corner. The AlphaTauri, very quick in a straight line, but not quick enough by the looks of things. Yeah. Russell covers the inside early. Daniel Ricciardo, no opportunity. Turn 4 then. Last chance, Danny Rick. Oh, he's very close. He's very close. I don't care that Verstappen's winning the race. Show me Ricciardo. Show me Ricciardo. I don't think he's been able to do it. Russell and Ricciardo go side by side, I think. The timer went towards Russell. And yeah, Ricciardo... No, Ricciardo stays 7th. I don't care. That everyone knows Verstappen's going to win. Don't show me that. Don't show me that. I'm not bothered. But Verstappen takes... Ooh! Lewis Hamilton with a fastest lap at the end there. Cheeky little fastest lap from the Mercedes car for 2nd place and an extra point for the Mercedes. Very nice indeed. Charles Leclerc coming home in 3rd place. So it was pole to 3rd for Charles Leclerc, which is not too shabby at all. Carlos Sainz takes 4th. Lando Norris in 5th place. Just imagine what he could have done. George Russell 6th. Daniel Ricciardo in 7th. Oscar Piastri not too far behind in 8th place. The little squabble between Russell and Ricciardo gave Piastri that opportunity to just close that gap a touch. Alex Albon 5 seconds behind Piastri. And Esteban Ocon is going to take that final championship point. The 2 Alpines coming around side by side through the stadium. And Ocon takes the checkered flag. Gasly just behind. Then Logan Sargent finishes in 12th place. Another couple of disqualifications. And Logan Sargent gets another point on the board. Unlikely to happen, though. Oh, as Logan Sargent comes into the pits. Weird. Maybe a problem with the... No, can't have come into the pits. Did he come into the pits? Maybe, you know. Sonoda 12th then. Hulkenberg 13th. Bottas 14th. 15th for Zhou Guang Yu. Lance Stroll, Fernando Alonso, both of the Aston Martins dealing a little bit of damage to themselves and dropping out of the race. Kevin Magnussen with a huge shunt into the barriers. Dropped out into 19th. And Sergio Perez was out before the first turn. Collided with Charles Leclerc. Max Verstappen on the inside. Nothing that the Monarchs driver could do. But Lewis Hamilton, 2nd place this time around on the radio. Congratulates the team. Very happy indeed with that performance. Was a little bit worried about the tyres, was Lewis Hamilton. But in the end was able to get the job done. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm going to disappear fairly swiftly. I do just have one favour to ask. Click on the link for my channel. Head over to the community tab and get a hot take in for this Mexican Grand Prix. Because we were a little bit light on hot takes last week from Austin. So I'd love your hottest take from the Mexican Grand Prix. And I will react to them tomorrow and get that video out for you. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you, Jamie. Appreciate it, mate. You are always here. Much love to you. Unfortunately, Nico Hulkenberg, 13th in the end there. So Haas, those ever-elusive points, they're coming, Jamie. They're coming. Just got to be patient. Don't you worry. The upgrades for 2024 are on their way. And we know that Bahrain, you just pick up some points. That's how Haas work. Bahrain, ridiculous. Then everything else. Thank you all for stopping by. Thank you to all the members. Recent member, Ariosto, recent member. If you want to become a member, click that members link. You get some extra goodies, a couple of little ones. What's a hot take? Just like your thoughts after the race. Like, was there a driver that really caught your eye? Was there a performance that you thought really needed talking about? Is there something that you want to know in particular? Was there something that confused you? Just give me an opinion from the Mexican Grand Prix, and I will have a look into it, delve into it, and get that video of hot takes and reactions to the Grand Prix out to you tomorrow evening. Drop a like on the way out. Sally is absolutely